Help yourself to the frogs, said Harry. But in, the Muggle world, people just stay put in photos, Do they? They don't move around? Ron sounded amazed. Weird. Harry stared as Dumbledore sidled back in the picture on his card and gave him a small smile. Ron was more interested in eating the frogs than looking at the famous witches and wizards on the cards, but Harry couldn't keep his eyes off of them. Soon he not only had Dumbledore and Morgana, but Hanks of Woodcroft, Albert Brennian, Cersei, Parcilius, and Merlin. He finally tore his eyes away from the Druidess Cleodina, who was scratching her nose, to open a bag of Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. You have to be careful with those, Ron warned Harry. When they say every flavor, they mean every flavor. You get those ordinary ones like chocolate and peppermint and marmalade, but then you get spinach and liver and tripe. George reckons he even had a boogie-flavored one once. Ron picked up a green bean, looked at it carefully, and then spit into the corner. Ugh, see? Sprouts. They had a good time eating every flavor beans. Harry got toast, coconut, baked bean, strawberry, curry, grass, coffee, sardine, and he was even brave enough to nibble the end of a funny gray one Ron wouldn't touch. It turned out to be pepper. The countryside now was flying past the window and becoming wilder. The neat fields had gone. Now there were woods, twisting rivers, and dark green hills. There was a knock on the door of their compartment, and the round-faced boy Harry had passed on the platform 9 3/4 came in. He looked tearful. Sorry, he said, but have you seen a toad? When they shook their heads no, he wailed, I've lost him! He keeps getting away from me. He'll turn up, said Harry. Yes, said the boy miserably. Well, if you see him... He left. I don't know why he's so bothered, said Ron. If I'd brought a toad, I'd lose it as quick as I could. Mind you, I brought Scabbers, so I really can't talk. The rat was still snoozing on Ron's lap. He might have died, and you wouldn't have known the difference, said Ron in disgust. I tried to turn him yellow yesterday to make him more interesting, but the spell didn't work. Here, I'll show you. He rummaged around in his trunk and pulled out a very battered-looking wand. It was chipped in places, and something white was glinting at the end. Unicorn hair is nearly poking out. Anyways, he had just raised his wand when the compartment door slid open again. The toadless boy was back, but this time he had a girl with him. She was already wearing her Hogwarts robes. Has anybody seen a toad? Nella's lost one, she said. She had a bossy sort of voice, with lots of bushy brown hair and a rather large front tooth. We've already told him we haven't seen it, said Ron, but the girl wasn't listening. She was looking at the wand in his hand. Oh, are you going to do magic? Let's see it then. She sat down. Ron looked taken aback. All right. He cleared his throat. Sunshine Daisy's butter mellow turned the stupid fat rat yellow. He waved his wand, but nothing happened. Scabbers stayed gray and fast asleep. Are you sure that's a real spell? Said the girl. Well, it's not very good, is it? I've tried a few simple spells just for practice, and it's all worked fine for me. Nobody in my family's magical at all, if it was ever such a surprise when I got my letter. But I was ever so pleased, of course. I mean, it's the very best school of witchcraft there is. I've heard. I've learned all of our set books off by heart, of course. I just hope it will be enough. I'm Hermione Granger, by the way. Who are you? She said this all very fast. Harry looked at Ron, and was relieved to see his stunned face that he hadn't learned all his books off by heart either. I'm Ron Weasley, Ron muttered. I'm Harry Potter. There they are on the train. Are you really Harry Potter? Said Hermione. I know all about you, of course. I got a few extra books for background reading, and you're in modern magical history and the rise and fall of Dark Ages and great wizarding events in the 20th century. Am I? Said Harry, feeling dazed. Goodness, didn't you know? I would have found out everything if it was me, said Hermione. Do either of you know what house you'll be in? I've been asking around, and I hope I'm in Gryffindor. It sounds by far the best. I heard Dumbledore himself was one, but I suppose Ravenclaw wouldn't be so bad. Anyways, we better go and look for Neville's toad. You two better change, you know. I expect we'll be there soon. And then she left, taking the toadless boy with her. Ugh, whatever house I'm in, I hope she's not in it, said Ron. He threw his wand back into the trunk. Stupid spell. George gave it to me. Bet he knew it was a dud. What house are your brothers in? Asked Harry. Gryffindor, said Ron. Gloom seemed to be settling in on him. Mum and Dad were in it too. I don't know what they'll say if I'm not. I don't suppose Ravenclaw would be too bad, but imagine if they put me in Slytherin. That's the house you know who was in? Yeah, said Ron. He flopped back into his seat looking depressed. You know, I think the ends of Scabbers' whiskers are a bit lighter, said Harry, trying to take Ron's mind off the houses. So what do your oldest brothers do now that they left? Harry was wondering what a wizard did once he finished school. Charlie's in Romania studying dragons, and Bill's in Africa doing something for Gringotts, said Ron. Did you hear about Gringotts? It's been all over the Daily Prophet, but I don't suppose you get that with muggles. Someone tried to rob a high-security vault. Harry stared. Really? What happened to them? Oh, nothing. That's why it's such big news. They haven't been caught. My dad said it must have been a powerful dark wizard to get around Gringotts, but they don't think they took anything. That's what's odd. Of course, everyone gets scared when something like this happens in case you know who's behind it. Harry turned this news over in his mind. He was starting to get a prickle of fear every time you know who was mentioned. He supposed this was all part of entering the magical world, but it had been a lot more comfortable saying Voldemort without worrying. What's your Quidditch team? Ron asked. I don't have any, Carrie confessed. What? Ron sounded dumbfounded. Oh, you wait. It's the best game in the world. And he was off, explaining all about the 4 balls and the position of every 7 players, describing the famous games he'd been to with his brothers and the broomstick he'd like if he were to get any money. He was just taking Harry through the finer points of the game when the compartment door slid open yet again, but it wasn't Neville the Toadless Boy this time, or Hermione Granger. Okay. We'll continue for the next part.